Hello and welcome to another video. This time around I'm going to take a quick look at a Abyss key that I've done just now. I was gladly able to get my hands onto an account who has all the necessary and required awakenings for this specific team. And yeah, at the end of the day I was able to push to 60k. It was close, but managed to work that out. The team itself isn't anything new. This was one of the old basic teams pre-Poisoner meta, which is somewhat a thing now and gives different opportunities to run as teams. So the old Infernal Watcher team. There are like a few things to watch out for, which I want to take care of before I'm going to start the run. So one thing is Kigiri. He has, if he triggers ult, two options. Either he triggers Sweeping Strike, or if he parries or takes damage in, I think, the first quarter or so of his ult, he's going to trigger the Ember Strike. This is what we want, simply because the Sweeping Strike is going to deal 180% damage and then 480% once, while the Sweeping Strike, if I remember correctly, does 240%, so already 60% more, and he deals the 480% damage twice. So in total we have a bonus of 540% damage on top compared to the normal sweeping one. So that's what we want to look out for. Another thing is Ingrid. Ingrid, if she's A3, has her, well, she always has her overload, obviously, but if she's A3, she only requires one attack between her special attack, let's just call it like that. So in her AoE mode, it's the big beam. In her single target mode, she's shooting a lot of stars or whatever it is. If she's A3, she only requires one attack in between instead of usually 5. What we want to reach with her is being in her overload during the shield and the knock phase of the magic phase. So we kind of need to manipulate this a little bit. Another thing is, and this is, I think, going to be the last one, is Zolkadance. About him is, it's important to pre-channel, you could say so, his ult. So you trigger his ult during a phase where he isn't blocking anyone or you're going to lose any value or anything. So the setup itself is pretty common. I am used to playing on the left side, so you can do the same stuff on the right side. There's no difference. We're sharing the Invic and Wings of Grace buffs on Zolkadance, Kigiri, Wukong, and starting off by switching Diao and Ingrid and triggering Zolkadance just for the debuff already, so the vulnerability of his A1. If you drop down Kigiri and Wukong fast enough in the beginning, you can A, get an Ember Strike of Kigiri out already, and B, you can get the full ult of Wukong out. From the beginning on the first phase, there isn't anything too special that is happening. We're going to use Setram only to break the shield, and afterwards going to use Kigiri and Wukong's ult to deal the most damage as possible. We want to trigger Kigiri at 539. This is where the damage comes in. So I, just to have a second more, trigger him at 540. Once the boss comes up and he's standing again, this is where I want to use this pre-channel. So right now he's still in the physical phase, but we can already channel Zolkadance ult so that the boss changes here now, and Zolkadance is going to deal damage once he's in the magical one without losing any damage. We can use Wukong here. He's going to deal a little bit of damage with his A5. This should be in total 360 damage since he does 36 times 10 damage. It isn't a lot, but at the end of the day, you'll see we at least have some bonus damage. For the first magical shield, we are going to use Kigiri ult here as usual. I'm pretty sure this is something that is known by now as well. So trigger Kigiri ult to block the meteor and use Furzy to heal him and Torador up so that they will stay alive. For the shield, we're going to use Lord Phineas about halfway to the shield. And if Ingrid is in her overload, she's going to take care of the rest. And that way, she's going to break the shield, and the Zorkaden's ult is going to hit as the boss drops into his vulnerability phase. When the boss switches to his physical phase, we can just trigger Kigiri and Wukong. This will pretty much, as you can see right now, trigger his Ember Strike, and Wukong's going to deal damage. There will be one more Kigiri ult that is at 341. Just to trigger another Ember Strike, and the last one's going to be in the knock phase. If you've paid attention, you saw that I changed Ingrid right now, once into the AoE stance, once into the single target stance. This is simply because I want to kind of manipulate her for the force shield so that she's in her overload stance at that point in time. This isn't perfectly matching out right now, but it's going to be enough for her to reach her overload at like the half of the shield or something, and then in her knocked phase. So as I said before, there's going to be one more Kigiri ult before the shield. Same as Wukong. So we have one Wukong ult here, and now at 341, 42, around that time, we will trigger another Kigiri ult with the Ember Strike to deal some damage. And the rest is being taken care of Setram. If you have Setram's exclusive weapon, he will easily take down that shield here. I've done that on my own account. I know that he unfortunately doesn't have the shield, the weapon, sorry. 20% bonus damage on shields and 10% penetration during his ult is huge. So you can trigger Wukong here straight into the vulnerability phase of the boss. Unfortunately, Kigiri for me wasn't ready, so the damage moment was right now at 311. What I'm going to do is I'm going to delay Kigiri a little bit so that the boss, when he's at one quarter left, I can once again pre-channel Solkadance. This will give the vulnerability from A1 to the boss, and at 307 we have another moment for Kigiri to trigger and get another Ember Strike out. Now we're in the magic phase. There isn't anything too special about this one. We have manipulated Ingrid earlier already. This is working out. We are going to use Solkadance and Phineas together this time around, not one after another, to take down the shield together with Ingrid. Kigiri is going to parry the meteors once again, combined with Furzy. And here, by the way, with the meteors coming about halfway, this is where I always trigger Solkadance. This is for me perfectly matching out that she's going to throw his ball as the shield's going to come up. And here you can, by the way, see why it's going to be important to have HP on your, there it is, on your Lord Phineas. Your Torador is most likely going to die if he's not like giga full tank. I would assume so. I haven't tested it whether I could actually survive that, but he is going to take the hit afterwards, and you want to have enough HP. That's why this is important. Otherwise he would die here. Happened to me more than often enough. As you can see, this shield here isn't an issue at all. This is being taken down easily. The next Kigiri moment at Wukong is at 155. This is a small delay after the boss changes. So he switches here, We can use Wukong already, Kigiri, a small delay, and then use this ult at 155. This is pretty much now the hot phase, you could say so, at the end, where we need to take down, at least in this combination, we need to take down the shield once more to be able to deal the damage necessary. There will be a skill called blah 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 Wrath. I forgot the name. I think it's Worm Wrath or something. In like the last 10%, this is where I start off with Cetram. So the skill is going to come up now, if I remember correctly. Yeah, Worm's Wrath. So like the last bit here, see I've also shown it. We're going to trigger Cetram. Closely afterwards, we will use Zolkadance, Phineas, and you can see here the boss is going to smack down with his hand, with his claw, whatsoever, on the ground. This is where we want to use Kigiri with Furzy together, and afterwards Wukong onto the shield and deal as much damage as possible. You will see this will be close as hell, but once again keep in mind he doesn't have the Cetram exclusive weapon, so this is going to be dealing a lot more damage to the shield. Those 20% bonus damage on shields and 10% penetration, they come out huge. Yeah, for the end, it's pretty much just trigger everything you have. If you're that close, you will just use about every ult. Obviously, you could delay Eileen here a little bit, but if you manage to keep everyone alive just for a little bit, so that Zolkadance gets his ult out, as you can see right now, this is going to jump up quite a bit and will give us enough damage to now go over the 60k. As I said, it's definitely close. I'm curious to see whether this is going to work on auto or not. But with those awakenings, with that gear that he has, it's definitely doable. Might even be that there are some improvements still, just to make it a bit easier and break the shield. Obviously, by far having Cetram's exclusive is going to be the biggest thing to do to make it easier here. Yeah, I'm going to run over the gear at the end now, just to show the stats. There are multiple things. You definitely need HP, otherwise you're going to drop units during the fight, especially on him. If you have around 18k, I've pretty much never had an issue at all that he survives this lightning. Eileen as well, as you can see, she doesn't have a lot of attack. It's more important to keep those units alive. If they are alive, they can keep on healing. A dead healer doesn't help anyone. Shadow Gaze for him definitely a strong artifact. As you can see, doesn't have Cetram exclusive weapon. Ingrid HP once again. Wukong's one of the units that doesn't really need a lot of HP because he's not taking the big hits, and he also has a good base HP pool, so he can take a few hits without any issues. Yeah, this is pretty much about it. Morale Torador. This was done with the Regal crest, but you can also run, there's a legendary artifact that is going to improve your max HP by, I think, 20%. This is also doable. There are different options for him, definitely, to go for. Yep. If you need any help with that, any questions, obviously feel free to hit me up. I'm down to do takeovers. I'm going to drop the Kigiri timings in the description if this is going to be helpful for you. Yeah, I'd be happy. Drop a like, drop a sub, the usual stuff. Yeah, Have a good one and see you in the next video. Take care. Bye.